Hello, Uta here with my cables on my sweater that I made a few years ago with Norwegian clasps, and my innovative little piece of it was my innovation, I should say, was the cables on the sweater sleeves instead of ribbing at the bottom. It's very warm. Some of it is made out of Norwegian wool. I'm here today to talk about a term in the Heggen Lexicon, which is hothouse indignation. Now, sometimes hothouse indignation, which is an overreaction of an actually rageful nature, to something that was completely innocuous and that demonstrates really the self-involvement, the narcissism of the person who, especially just like Nettie, like a man who ideates himself into a female persona. I will relay one episode when Nettie really made a point of how indignant and angry he was. And it was on a happy occasion. And it was our younger son's bar mitzvah. Now, my parents were too old to come. They all did such a good job. They studied so hard. I really worked with them on it. I kind of had part of it memorized myself. These 13-year-old Jewish boys of mine, they needed a little prodding to do their practicing, but they really did a good job, and I think that they got a lot out of it when they had their bar mitzvahs. So Nettie refused to pay for any extra stuff, even though this was the training of our children in the family religion that he grew up in. And he had a bar mitzvah too. So, but I was paying for mostly everything. I think I did get him to pay for a few of the tutoring lessons, for the kids to memorize the Hebrew. And at the bar mitzvah at the end, the rabbi announced that my parents, who couldn't be there, you could say the Heggens for them, that they paid for the brunch, what we call the kiddush, afterward. All of a sudden, boom, Nettie stands bolt upright and storms out of the sanctuary of the synagogue. And later, the rabbi came up to me and asked, did I say something wrong? And I said, no, this is typical. And of course, it puts pressure on the kids because the kids try in their minds to make sense of this and try to figure out what went wrong. Why did my father stalk out at the end of my special day? And this happens over and over and over again in our ex-husband's behavior. And I could call it unjustified rage. There are any number of other names, a rage overreaction, but I've decided to call it the hothouse indignation because when you grow plants in a greenhouse, in a hothouse, a glass house, they are not as strong as plants outside. They are not as exposed to the wind. Their stems are a little bit droopy. Sometimes the plants are a little bit leggy. And I guess I got the phrase hothouse for something from hothouse tomatoes, that those tomatoes are not like the wonderful dark red fresh tomatoes from the garden. And I just today, this morning, I responded to some hothouse indignation from a trans ally, from a cross-sex ideator, ideology ally, on Colin Wright's Substack. I'm a paid subscriber. I recommend doing that so that you can comment and exchange information with Colin Wright's readers. There are many, many writers that he includes there, including Lior Sapir, who writes very well about what's going on with the kids and so on. So there's a new subscriber who is captured. I don't know really why that person is there. And they keep on responding to my comments. And my comments link, typically, the Stephen B. Levine testimony or the interview of the Dutch journalists by Stella O'Malley and Sasha Ayad, really kind of scholarly references. And this guy came at me with a straw man ambush, and I got to use that word in my reply to him. Now, I have no intention of replying to him on any more of his other comments that I'm sure he'll go around, replying to all of us sensible, scholarly-minded people who are paying attention when we see the results of a low-quality study that didn't have enough subjects to be able to make any kind of conclusions. Now, these comments made all sorts of assumptions about the activism that I must be engaging in regarding legislation all over the U.S. And maybe this was in response to a comment I made about Norway changing public policies. And actually in Norway, they took the license away from a doctor who was inappropriately prescribing exogenous hormones to children and wasn't qualified to do that. So they took his license away as a doctor. Oh, and of course he thinks that he's a woman. He's a cross-sex ideator. So this was very interesting because I was able to use the term, the ambush, the straw man ambush, and explain. You are engaging in a straw man ambush. You are trying to make me out as some extremist in a religious or political way. And I'm talking about what science are we going to base our therapies and our approaches to children who are confused and distressed and who are having the idea that they should do irreversible changes to their body, which they may regret when they become older. And we actually don't have any full information about the regret because there are individuals who did the surgeries and have been on hormones for years, and it's taken a toll on their bodies, and they can't, they feel that they can't detransition. They kind of want to detransition. That hasn't even been explored at all. I mean, that would have to be interviewing hundreds of people and doing follow-up. So, this ally expressed hothouse indignation and engaged in straw man ambush of me. We need to have our lexicon. Straw man ambush, hothouse indignation, use them and be well always in mind and body.